Good morning. Welcome to Daily Devotions with me, Pastor Stephen, your pastor of the Northwoods and of Family Worship Center. I'm here today with my kitty cat, Stubbs. I think you can see his ears and head. Oh, there. He's really snuggly this morning. And so that's where we're at. Today's devotion is going to take place in John 10, chapter 10. And I just have some cool thoughts with this one. And we'll get into it, but I have a very consistent thought that pops up in my head when I read scripture that is in the same, I guess, best way you could describe it as like thoughts, like that there's a underlying thought that's the same. And I mean, I'll just give it to you right now. It's that Jesus is the way, the truth, the life, and no one gets to the Father except through him. So the thought being that it's through faith in Jesus Christ in which we are justified and receive salvation. So, and Jesus, what you're going to see here in the Good Shepherd and Sheep, is going to teach that once again in John chapter 10 through the parable of the Good Shepherd and the sheep, right? So, I believe if I actually go back to John 9, he just healed someone, right? He just healed someone, and then, yeah, here it is. Okay, I knew he was talking to Pharisees, but I like to see the context, right? They brought to the Pharisees the man that had been blind, and then the blind man testifies that Jesus is a prophet. They're kind of going back and forth, and then he brings Jesus brought up spiritual blindness. And what's interesting is that this blind man that was brought to the Pharisees to testify, like, why aren't you blind no more? And he's like, it's Jesus, he's a prophet, all that, right? They threw him out, right? And when Jesus had heard, they thrown him out. When they found him, do you believe the Son of Man, right? And so this is where we're at, right? And so we get to John 10, and it says, very truly I tell you, Pharisees, right? Anyone who does not enter the sheep pen by the gate, but climbs in by some other way, is a thief and a robber. Which makes sense, right? Shepherding is a very, very common profession, right? It's where they get their wool, and I suppose if they do decide to eat the lamb, that's where they. And then, not to mention, for religious purposes, they have to definitely nurture a spotless lamb to sacrifice, bring to the temple to cover. To pay the price for sin, right? Because Jesus hasn't died on the cross yet, so still operating Old Testament law that the sacrifice has to be presented. So when he says this to the Pharisees, they're not in like cryptic land of like sheep, pen, gate. What are you talking about? They're like, Jesus is like, yeah. If a shepherd opens up the gate, he goes through, the sheep goes through. But if there's people jumping the gate, those guys are thieves and robbers. And the Pharisees are like, yeah, because if they weren't, they'd go through the gate, right? So this is they're like, yeah, we get it, 100%, right? The one who enters by the gate is the shepherd of the sheep. They're like, duh, he's got the keys to the, or whatever, right? He knows how to unlatch it. The gatekeeper opens the gate for him, and the sheep listen to his voice, right? He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he has brought out all his own, he goes on ahead of them, and his sheep follow him because they know his voice. But they will never follow a stranger. In fact, they will run away from him because they do not recognize a stranger's voice, right? And so that's if you see the quotations here, right? This is the quote that Jesus is saying to the Pharisees. A lot of obvious stuff. They're probably like, yeah, why are you saying this? We know this. We get this. We've seen this, right? Maybe one of them was like, yeah, my dad's a shepherd, or like they know. I can even imagine them being a little annoyed, like, okay, get to your point, right? We get this concept. And then John chimes in, because John is the one writing this. Jesus used this figure of speech, but the Pharisees did not understand what he was telling them. And you're like, well, Pastor Steve, I thought you said they were understanding. No. They're understanding the concept of the shepherd, the sheep, the gate, the robbers, the thieves. Of course the sheep would follow the shepherd. He's the shepherd. They grew up with him. The shepherd's the one that literally, that's the first thing they saw out of the womb of the sheep, right? So it's like the sheep, of course the sheep know the shepherd. Like all that stuff they get, What they didn't understand was like why Jesus was saying what he's saying. And so Jesus recognized this. Therefore, Jesus said again, very truly I tell you, and this is it. This is the juice. This is the thing that put them on their butts. I am the gate for the sheep. All who have... Oh, 1 second. I just had an audio spike there. That was weird. Well, now, did you guys hear that? Okay. I think we're good. I'm looking at the audio things. Here, let me just do a quick... I think we're okay. All right. Just want to make sure we don't have a explosion of audio. Okay. Verse 7. Very truly I tell you, I am the gate for the sheep. All who have come before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep have not listened to them. I am the gate. Whoever enters through me will be saved. They will come in and go out and find pasture. The thief only comes to steal, kill, and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it full. Right? I am the gate. And then, he doesn't even give him a chance to speak. He says, I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep, alluding to his eventual sacrifice. The hired hand is not the shepherd and does not own the sheep. So when he sees the wolf coming, he abandons the sheep and runs away. Then the wolf attacks in the flock and scatters it. The man runs away because he is a hired hand and cares nothing for the sheep. I am the good shepherd. I know my sheep know me, just as the Father knows me, and I know the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. I have other sheep that are not of the sheep pen. I must bring them also. They too will listen to my voice, and there shall be one flock and one shepherd. The reason my Father loves me is that I lay down my life only to take it up again. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down of my own accord. I have authority to lay it down and authority to take it up again. This command I received from my Father. All right? This is an incredible... literally everything about faith and salvation, everything, is in these 17 verses. Okay? All of them. Almost all of it. I'm saying the word almost because I'm failing. Maybe I'm missing something, but we'll get there, right? The Jews who heard these words were divided. Many of them said, he is demon-possessed and raving mad. Why listen to him? But others said, these are not the sayings of a man possessed by a demon. Can a demon open the eyes of the blind? Because they're like, this is the guy that just healed a guy in the name of God, right? It's like, he can't be demon-possessed. So they're fighting amongst each other, right? And so what happens is there's this conflict over Jesus' claims. And I'll let you read chapter 10. But let's look at this. This is incredible. Oh, I just closed down my thing. There we go. Man, I'm just clicking all the wrong things today. We have this concept of the sheep, the gate, the shepherd, the sheep, right? Jesus says, I'm the gate, all right? But I'm also the shepherd. Meaning that the pen represents, I'm going to use the word right standing, the place where we're supposed to be. You could use righteousness. I mean, you could even allude to be like, the pen is heaven. But I'm not in heaven right now. I'm on this earth. I'm still dealing with earth and life, right? Still the sinful nature inside, right? But I could still be in the pen because I've surrendered myself to Jesus and I'm a sheep and I'm following my shepherd, right? And when he leads me through the gate, I walk through the gate. And when he leads me back out of the pasture, I go to the pasture. So I don't think the pen is exclusive to just heaven, but I think it's just a right standing, righteousness kind of thing. And the only way to get into right standing, right? The only way to get into that right standing with God, that righteousness, is through the gate, right? So what's the gate? Is it the 10 Commandments? Is it the law? Is it what your pastor or Pharisee says? Is it some sort of hurdle you have to jump over? Like you must speak in tongues, or you must give this amount of money, or you must go to whatever mass or whatever church service, Christmas Eve or Catholic or is it Lutheran? Is it Presbyterian? Is it AG? It's like we can come up what's the gate? And Jesus says, I'm the gate. Me. I'm the gate. Well, then who's the shepherd? I'm the shepherd. It's like Jesus he came in and he really shook up the status quo and said the temple, the high priests, the Levites, the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the law, the Ten Commandments, all that. That's not the gate. That's not even the shepherd. I lead. You follow. I'm the gate. You go through. You follow me through that gate, which is me, and you will be in right standing. This is just incredible. He literally is just breaking down all these barriers, right? And he even goes in to talk about, like, I'm going to lay my life down for the wolf, right? No one, and then even goes in to be like, I'm going to lay down my life only to take it up again. He's literally talking about resurrection. You know, no one takes it from me, but I lay it of my own accord. I have authority, right, to lay it down and authority to take it up again. And I got this command from my Father. He put it all out on the table for all of them. And to get back to what I started to at the very beginning, which was when I read scripture like this, whether the prophecy of Jesus from Jesus' own lips, or like him talking about, like when he speaking with the Pharisee about was that Nicodemus? Was that about you must be born again? He's talking about just the concept of faith in Jesus alone, right? The thing that always comes back to my mind is that that's what they killed him over. Like, that was it. Jesus to the established establishments, right? To the ongoing establishments that were in the world. Jesus represented something much greater than just like a guy that was really nice or healed people. He was quite literally the thing that would liberate people from their reliance on the ways of old. And it really just came down to power. Like, straight up. If Jesus is doing what he's doing, and he's for real, which we can see half of these Pharisees were like, dude, this guy, he's healing the blind. Like this guy's for real. And the other half were like, no, he's demon possessed. But part of that, I think they're thinking that because then they have a reason to continue down the thought process of killing him, which they did anyway. If Jesus' mere existence stripped them of power, the power that they had established themselves and were very much enjoying. It's so interesting because if they were so close. These are the men that had the Old Testament memorized. They knew about the prophecy of Jesus. Like they could sit there and just quote Isaiah to you, like to your face in a moment, right? Because that was a requirement to be a Pharisee. And they missed it. And I think they truly missed it because of all the hurdles that they had erected and then were the enforcers of. And is it an idea of, I don't, and it's like, part of me is like, well, I can say it's pride, I can say it's greed, I can say those things, but like, what led to that thought? Like, was it an inability to be wrong? Was it truly just, I like my life is and I don't care about this guy trying to wreck things? Because if they had just realized who he was and what he was doing, they could have had power too, but power in a much different way, in a much more liberating way that they could share and really benefit the other sheep, but they just didn't. They killed him. And so devotions are about self, right? This is about me, and although I've done a lot of breakdown and talk and teaching here, well, how does this apply to me? Well, There's still organized religion today. I'm a pastor, right? I organize a church. And for me, I have to ask myself and read this parable and really put myself on trial is the best way, like in my mind, right? Am I behaving like a Pharisee? Is my church set up in a way where people have to go through the processes that I've established for them to be saved? Or am I preaching the gospel that Jesus preached right here, right? Talking about Jesus is the gate. Jesus is the shepherd. The pen is right standing in God. It's not by me. It's not by our church. It's not by our world or state or government or wherever. It's literally by him and only him. And I put myself on trial to make sure. It's like, am I being like a Pharisee? And I passed the trial. My preaching is Jesus only. And for people who come into my office or want to meet with me, and they'll say things like, I do my best to not do this, not do this, not do this. I still feel like there's something in a run. It's like I present to them passages of scripture like this, where it's like, hey, Jesus represented a new way to live your life. And the idea is that if we're living life in a way that manifests the fruits of the Spirit, love, kindness, joy, peace, goodness, faithfulness, self-control, the whole thing. If we're living a life that accentuates those things, then we don't have to worry about a law that says do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that, because you'll already be adhering to it, because you're accentuating the things that prop up God and prop up others and prop up yourself, and you're good. And Jesus represented that like he's like, we're taking the rules down and we're just going to live life in the way that life should be lived. And the Pharisees were like, well, if you do that, then I no longer have power over people. And Jesus is like, you never should have. And they're like, yeah, we're going to kill him. So don't be afraid to put yourself on trial this morning, like as you read this, and just say, am I artificially like putting myself or others around me to a rule set that is not what Jesus is doing, like where it's like a prerequisite to salvation? Or am I seeing what Jesus is saying, that he's the gate, he's the shepherd, and I need to be in the pen, and it's only through him, his leadership through the gate that is him? It's like, that's what we need to be preaching. That's what we need to be living. And I'm excited for it. All right. Oh, good. We got under 20 minutes. I'm a passionate man about John 10. Actually, this whole scripture, right? Because this kind of started in chapter 9, and, we further conflict over Jesus' claims. It kind of continues, right? I mean, we can look at 11. Oh, yeah, and then, death of Lazarus. Okay, yeah, so it's like a 9 and 10 combo. So, all right. Hey, if you're watching this today, don't forget that today specifically, which is December 5th of 2025, we have our annually BGMC Hot Wings Challenge. And so please come out for that. Please watch the live stream. It'll be on the Family Worship Center Park Falls YouTube page. And it'll be a blast to try to raise our goal is $14,000 this year. We got $12,000 this year. And so we're excited. We're in it's Project Nigeria, where specifically it's called Educate Nigeria, building schools for kids in Nigeria to help. I mean, education is so important. We've proved it over many generations that the more education we supply, the greater a group of people, a country, a state can elevate itself out of poverty. And so we're super excited. We'll talk more about it tonight, but we're super excited to be coupled with that project. First $7,000 earned is matched. So we had an anonymous donor that really just kind of came from the top rope and was like, bam, you do this, I'm in. And we're like, oh my goodness, let's go. So we're excited. But anyway, This has been Daily Devotion with me, Pastor Stephen of Family Worship Center, as well as your pastor of the Northwoods. I hope you have a wonderful Friday and a great weekend, and I'll talk to you later.